Hello,
Hello?
how are you?
Fine, fine. Let's talk about today about the working permissions for students.
Okay.
What kind of requirements are there in order to work in Australia for students?
Okay. So, as a student visa holder, if a person has a student visa for Australia, at the moment, they have unrestricted work rights. So that will be until 30th of June 2023. They have no limitation on the number of hours they can work. Now, this may change on 30th of June. They might decide to extend this unrestricted work rights permission, or they might bring it back to the old rule where you can work 40 hours per fortnight, and on holidays you do not have any restrictions. So during holidays you can work full time.
Good.
But at the moment there is no restriction.
Mm-hmm. Good. It means they are allowed to work anywhere.
They're
And
allowed to work anywhere because after COVID there has been a huge shortage of workers in Australia. So the government is trying to make it easier for students and people who get work visas after their studies to stay longer and to work longer in Australia because there's just not enough workers.
clear. Are students allowed to work during the night?
Yes, that's
Yes.
fine. A student, there are no restrictions. So if a person is studying in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
from morning to say midday or afternoon, they can work in the afternoon or even at night. They can do shift work. There's no restrictions. They can work whenever they want and whatever they want.
Okay, good. Where students are allowed to work, can you recommend us some type of jobs where it's better for students to be there?
This is difficult. See, there's no restriction as long as there's no requirement for a degree or a qualification. A student can work anywhere. They can work in restaurants. They can work in hotels. They can work in in cafes, and usually that's a very popular avenue for work. Again, if they're willing to work in jobs that are more labor intensive, they can work in construction sites as laborers, painters, anything. And then if they have a qualification and they can find a job, they can work as, I don't know, in companies, in an office. They can work as tutors. There's no restriction as long as there's no requirement to have a license. So of course, if they don't have a license, they cannot work as a doctor or they cannot work as a lawyer because you need licenses for this.
Yeah.
But if a person has qualifications and knowledge, for example, they studied computer software engineering or software design, and they continue to study a master degree in Australia, and if they find a job, of course they can work as a programmer or software developer or whatnot. There's no restriction.
Okay, what about for just imagine I know physics very well. Can I teach children?
So as a tutor, maybe. If you want to teach in school, you need to have license to become a teacher. And actually that's a very good sort of pathway because there's a big demand for mathematics and physics. There's a very big demand. And also a person who is a teacher in mathematics and physics may be also able to obtain a permanent visa for Australia.
Oh,
And when you
really?
combine the fact that, yes, because teachers are in demand, but especially mathematics and physics and computer science teachers. So if a profession is in demand, that greatly increases the possibility and the chances of getting a permanent visa. But if they don't have the qualifications to be a teacher, so maybe they just studied a bachelor or master's in physics, they might need to study a teaching degree, which then would allow them to teach in school. If they don't have a teaching degree, they can probably do tutoring, online tutoring, or they can work for tutoring college.
Oh, interesting. Because in Uzbekistan we have some talented students who knows the maths in English very well and physics also. That's why I think that it will be very helpful for them.
It's
Okay.
possible, yes, as tutors.
Could you tell us some websites where students can find a job?
Okay. So I've done a little search here. The most popular website would be seek.com.au. And I've done a quick search, for example, waiters, right, in the hospitality, because waiting is relatively easy to find a job. There's a lot of work and the wages are quite good. So a casual position as a waiter, for example, we're looking at this establishment, is $28.46 per hour. Now, they can also get extra if they're working on public holidays or there's certain additional loading or penalty rates that are paid for certain situations. This one is 25 to 34.99, 25 to 34, 25 to 34. So you can just do a search on this website. Pay rate, this one 56. This one's 22 to 32. That depends, I guess, on the experience. There's a quite big gap, 22 to 32. But yeah, this is a very good site to look for work. Seek.com.au. There's one more called Indeed as well. But I think for starters, that's a good sort of starting point.
Clear. One more question. For the cooks, is it possible to collaborate the work, like studying in the college plus working somewhere as a cook?
Yes, that's even advisable, because it depends on what a person wants to do. If a person is studying to be a chef, for example, in Australia, it's a good idea for them to start working as soon as possible so they can get experience and they can network. Also, as part of the course, very often, there is a requirement that you have to work. You have to have practical experience. And some colleges even help you to find a job. But there's a very big demand for cooks and chefs at the moment. So even without the assistance of a college, you should be able to find a job by yourself. But working while studying is very important because that gives you experience, which then in turn can help you to get recognized. Your skills can be recognized in Australia, and then you can apply for a work visa or a permanent visa once you finish your studies. So that's very important.
Yeah, that's interesting moment to know about for the people who wants to become a chef. Okay, let's finish up. I think that is all questions I have asked you about working conditions for students. Have a nice time. Thank you very much for your interview.
Thank you.
Bye.